You are listening to the global network of podcasters dedicated to the pharmacy profession. Welcome to the Pharmacy Podcast Network.
Welcome back to the Pharmacy Podcast Network's coverage of the NASP 2024. We're thrilled to be back interviewing specialty pharmacy leaders with our special 4-part series covering the annual meeting and expo held in Nashville from October 6th through the 9th. As the official press and media partner for NASP, we're here to bring you the latest insights and highlights from this important gathering. This year, industry thought leaders and healthcare veterans from across the nation united to discuss the future of specialty pharmacy and the evolving patient journey. So here we go with part 1 of our series with support from our sponsor, Acaria Health.
We are here at the NASP 2024 in Nashville, and we are here with Acaria Health, which is one of our sponsors. We're so appreciative of this opportunity to talk with this team. I'd like you to all introduce yourself. We're going to start with Rachel.
Hello, Rachel Wickard. I am Clinical Account Executive at Acaria Health Specialty Pharmacy.
I am Scott McNider. I am Vice President of Account Management and Pharma Business Development at Acaria Health Specialty Pharmacy.
Joe Cozzolino, Vice President of Pharma Services and Business Development.
This is an exciting time to be able to come together and define the next stage of specialty pharmacy. Scott, I'd like to start out with you. Can you tell us more about what makes Acaria Health stand out in our industry?
Absolutely. So we're a comprehensive specialty pharmacy. We're servicing all specialty disease states. We have wholesale distribution operations covering all 50 states, as well as non-commercial free drug programs servicing all 50 states and U.S. territories. We have a number of exclusive programs that we service. We have over 200 limited distribution drugs. We have a 50-plus person field sales and provider experience team that services all of our prescribers across the country. Our niche really is that we're a top 10 specialty pharmacy. We're big enough to be competitive with the big SPs. However, our approach is really more of an independent. We're trying to build that personalized, customized service, helping to really solve problems in collaboration and partnership with our clients.
Joe, how does Acaria Health plan to further expand or evolve your services?
You know, at Acaria Health, we're continually looking to innovate and expand our offerings. Our focus is enhancing our services in areas like gene and rare therapy, as well as integrating AI technology to refine our quality monitoring and improve patient outcomes. We're also investing heavily in digital solutions, such as digital texting initiatives, which aim to streamline patient engagement and customize our services to better meet the needs of our patients.
Thank you so much for that, Joe. Rachel, you're going to be presenting 2 posters here at the NASP 2024 that focus on the impact of Acaria's programs and on patient adherence. Adherence is so important, especially in specialty. Can you share some of the insights from your presentations?
Yeah, so we're excited to present this time around, and what we're looking at is, just as Joe mentioned, we're trying to look at the impact of these innovations on specialty pharmacy and impact on patients. So we looked at 2 approaches. The first approach is looking at the impact of these digital refill methods on adherence. So we're looking at text message and online portal compared to your traditional telephonic means to refill. And really, what was that impact in oncology patients? The other approach that we're looking at is just an enhanced support of managing these therapies. So the other poster is looking at a nurse-led specialty pharmacy adherence program and what was the impact of that support. So you have a set standard outreach along with risk ranking. So it gives you an individualized piece to managing therapy, and that's for patients that were new to ponatinib therapy. So overall, the results, they demonstrated improvement on adherence and persistency. We're kind of thinking looking forward, we're putting our work into these innovations, how do we, number one, increase engagement? So as Joe mentioned, we're looking at ways to improve and drive that engagement. We see that it's impactful, but we want to get patients into those methods. And then really just looking at, for adherence and persistency, what's that next step and the impact on outcomes overall. So, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Rachel. Scott, I did want to follow up. Can you kind of elaborate on how Arcaria Health is going to use technology to improve your patient care?
Absolutely. So, not surprisingly, technology is core to how we plan to enhance the patient experience, right? So we have a couple significant investments we're making currently. One is moving our platform to a cloud-based platform. So overall, it's going to help us with operational efficiencies, going to help us enhance our reporting and analytics capabilities, as well as allow us API connectivity to do things that we've never been able to do in the past. Secondly, just partnering with innovative vendors. So I think we're looking at all the different options we have in the industry, and currently actually working on an implementation for a digital enhancement product. Primarily, historically, we've done most of our engagement, our digital engagement, through a texting program. So refills, actually refill reminders, and actually the ability to refill via text, providing medication education through that channel, as well as adherence solutions. So as a matter of fact, year to date, 1/3 of our refills have actually come through a digital solution in our company.
That's incredible. I know that with this age and how we're using mobile technology, people are so comfortable texting back questions that you might have sent them about a specific treatment, where they are, how they're feeling. Can you tell me more about the information you're pulling into a pharmacy management system of some sort? Does that help for follow-up? Are you seeing an increase in adherence by that type of being involved with them through texting ongoing day to day?
Yeah, I think it really does help to drive that kind of individualized experience. So the feedback that we get into there, it might be related to, I have a question about my next injection, I have questions about my refill, or I have questions about just the overall regimen in general. And so I feel like just by having that open line of communication where patients do feel like they can, respond and have that immediate feedback, it does add a layer of, improving the overall experience and therefore adherence and persistency for sure.
Joe, let's shift to the partnership that Arcaria has developed with your manufacturers and how important that is to everything in the world of specialty pharmacy. So how do you collaborate with manufacturers to add value?
Actually, collaboration with manufacturers is the cornerstone of our service. One key area is free drug programs, which we operate on behalf of the manufacturers. These programs are vital. They provide critical access to medications for patients who may not otherwise afford them, offering support through patient assistance and quick start programs that help bridge gaps in coverage or financial need. By managing these programs, we ensure patients can begin and continue therapy without interruptions, reinforcing our commitment to accessible care and strong manufacturer partnerships.
Thank you. Scott, I think of the challenges that specialty pharmacy goes through, even getting in a network. Then when you finally have all the infrastructure, the technology, the programs in place, communication with your patient is so key and so important. So what are the biggest opportunities or challenges that is facing Arcaria Health right now?
Yeah, I'll start with opportunities. I think the advanced therapies like gene therapy, we're seeing significant growth potential there. So, within the gene therapy space, it's just being in that space has made us a better company overall. We had to implement net new processes to handle that, a new high-touch model just to be able to manage those patients. As you can appreciate, having a drug as expensive as gene therapy or therapy as expensive as they are, there's a lot of angst within the pharmacy itself, within the payers, with even in the manufacturers, making sure it gets there appropriately. So it's really made us a better pharmacy. I'm just doing it, but in the long term, we still see a significant opportunity for us there. think in the challenges, it's really just kind of navigating the regulatory space. So for IRA, for example, is coming out. The patients really don't understand the impact that it's going to have on them. So for us, being able to stay out in front of that, continue to educate them and engage them in their therapy to make sure that they stay engaged and adherent will continue to be a challenge for us. Because as the primary point of contact with those patients month in and month out, we have an opportunity to really help with that and keep them engaged. So, I think in closing on that, I think our commitment to technology and innovation, our commitment to our solving problems for our clients, adding value for our clients really is going to help us overcome those challenges, though, and continue to lead the industry.
Thank you so much. Rachel, if someone's listening, they want to engage Acaria Health, what's the best way to reach out to your team?
Yeah, so number one, stopping by our posters here at NASP so we can, kind of have some of those engaging conversations. Afterwards, we have our LinkedIn profiles. We have information for how to reach us directly through email at Acaria Health. So please reach out and please stop by the posters.
Excellent. Once again, we were here with the Acaria Health team here at the NASP. Thank you so much for sponsoring the NASP podcast and being part of the show.
Thank you, Todd.
Thanks, Todd.
Alita Postel here with Walmart Specialty at the NASP 2024.
Nice to meet you, Todd.
It's nice to see you again. This is almost becoming a tradition of ours. This is the second year that you've been able to participate in the post-show. It's important for us to have your type of representation as well as the mind share of where we are going. It's Together RX, as I always say, hashtag Together RX. Walmart presents a very special opportunity in specialty pharmacy because obviously there's just this massive reach that you have into communities that are desperate for more pharmacy care, not less. So when we start thinking of disease states and conditions and anything that might be within the community, there's a lot of head scratching from them where they're like, all right, I use my Walmart pharmacy, but what could I get if I needed extra care for my child or myself? Talk to us about expansion of specialty in community through Walmart.
Absolutely. So when you think about Walmart, right, people are going there for their everyday needs. We talked about that last time. It is in your community. We have 90% of Americans live within 10 miles of a Walmart. And so knowing where we sit, knowing our footprint, the next expansion for us, the last time we talked, was autoimmune.
Yep.
Autoimmune patient. They have nutrition needs, OTCs, over-the-counter medications. There are a number of supplements that they also need for their care. So when we thought about where we wanted to be and how can we make it easy, a lot of our autoimmune patients, they're caregivers, right? They're mothers, they're the head of their families. And so we wanted to simplify the process and allow us to be able to come to them, meet them where they are, right? So as we expanded our autoimmune community pharmacies, it was really important that we were intentional in where we put them, but also create an ease for them to be able to utilize our services. So I'm really excited because we've expanded to 31 locations. We now have over 138 community pharmacies across the U.S., and we're servicing both HIV, which was our initial expansion, and now we have leaned into autoimmune.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So what other partnerships is Walmart Specialty forming in order to grow out that specialty in autoimmune?
So simple answer, right? Our manufacturer partners are always important for us, making sure that we have access to those key therapies in our community pharmacies, but then also the right community advocates, right? Who are we partnering with in those communities to let them know that we're there and that we can help service the patients. And so we're doing a number of community activations as well. So you'll hear more about that, especially toward the end of the year, on where we're getting together with community partners and looking at, especially think about this, you know, the laws are changing as far as the practice of pharmacy. You know that, right? And so as these laws change, as things kind of evolve, what we're wanting to do is be there right when it happens and have the right conversation on implementation strategies, or if we know that there's an area that we need to lean into, what is that call to action that we should have? So you'll see more of that from us as we continue to expand our offerings.
Alita, the health system throughout different communities throughout the United States is very focused. A lot of them are very focused on specialty. How would Walmart Specialty align and parallel with them to let them know, hey, if you wanted our support with our reach, that you could start engaging with health systems as well?
Yeah, so one of the things too we want to dispel is that we're not here to take the place of your provider. That is such an important relationship, right? we see ourselves as an extension of that care continuum. And so partnering with the health systems, providing the services that you may not be able to get to within our pharmacies. So we have immunizations, we have test and treat. Sometimes you don't want to burden the health system with that, right? And so we've done more with our test to treat programs where we're testing for flu, strep, COVID. And so those are the things that we want to be able to offer as an extension of that. And a lot of times, too, is the convenience factor, too, is being able to get to a Walmart. We're open on the weekends. We're open later in the evening. So being able to come and get those services is something we want to also be able to provide and let our communities know that we are there. We also offer our wellness days, which happens 4 times a year. And so we have big campaigns where you can come in and get free screenings from our pharmacy teams and understand the offerings that we have within our pharmacy. So that's another way that we're working and partnering with systems and communities to let them know that there are available services within our pharmacies.
Alita, are you focused on any additional treatment disease state conditions for 2025?
We will be. I will announce that soon, but we are definitely leaning in and doing some really unique things. And we're just exploring options, right? It has to make sense as well, but we are also looking at where can we deliver care? Where do we go next? That's always in the forefront of how we're thinking. And then looking at our footprint, where's the best place for us to put our community pharmacies?
Alita, as a woman of color, how is your representation in what you've done and how vocal you've been? I watch you on LinkedIn. I cheer you on as much as we can. There are people watching you, young pharmacists, even people that are deciding that they're in biology. Maybe they're going to go into pharmacy. What kind of responsibility do you have to kind of set a precedent, a pathway for women to lead in healthcare?
So my journey into healthcare started by accident, right? I didn't know that I wanted to be in healthcare. There was a period that I wanted to be a law enforcement officer, and I went through that. And the reason why I wanted to help people, right? And from the communities that I come from, sometimes being in healthcare has not always been trusted, right? But when you see someone that looks like me, if I'm able to educate my family, educate my friends on what you should be doing, preventative care especially, it's a big deal, right? And I'll take the case of COVID. When I told family members that I was working at Walmart and that we were delivering immunizations for COVID, there was a lot of hesitancy and trust issues, right? But being able to say, hey, I've done it. I've safely taken it. My family has safely taken it. Here's what you should know. Here's what I'm hearing. Here's the impact in our community. Because in African-American communities, autoimmune is a big deal, right? Asthma, big deal. And you get COVID or you get sick, it was impactful. So being able to tie that, I suffer from asthma and I know what it was like when I had COVID. It was not easy for me. So being able to use my personal experience to resonate with them, but especially being a person of color and being able to speak to others, I do feel like I have a duty to make sure that they understand and they know what's available. But then also it's education, right? Being able to speak in a way that is easy for those to understand so they can gain that trust. Because you go to the doctor sometimes and they give you this diagnosis and it's like a death sentence. So how do you help to provide hope by giving it in sizable nuggets that you can understand and say there are therapies, there are treatments out there that can help you?
It's so important. And specialty pharmacy being able to be pushed out through the platform that Walmart already has within their communities, and then the pharmacists that are part of that, the most trusted providers that we have. This is all making sense. We're very proud of you and what you're doing in specialty pharmacy. Thank you once again for spending time with us here at the NASP's podcast review.
Thank you for having me, and I hope to see you again next year.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Alita.
You're welcome.
You are listening to the NASP podcast, part of the Pharmacy Podcast Network. The delivery of medications from wherever they're starting from, obviously our specialty pharmacies, to the patient, and how important temperature control is for specific compounds, and kind of the scariness that we've talked about, metrics around some of the mail order systems out there that leave these meds in the hot burning sun or hot mailboxes, and that sometimes can be harmful to the medication. I'm glad to have Orlando Vidal here from Cold Chain Technologies here at the NASP podcast. Welcome, Orlando.
Thank you, Don. Pleasure to be here.
All right, so tell me, how are you helping to serve a major issue in specialty pharmacy, which is the sensitivity of the components that makes up the actual medication, and how you're stabilizing to assure that it gets to the patient in the time that it needs to get to the patient and staying within that temperature control?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So, first I'd like to say it's not an issue. It's a requirement by URAC and ACHC and the drug manufacturers, and all pharmacists know, there's a requirement for every specific medication. Today, let's take, for example, the GLP-1 drugs, Wegovy, Ozempic. Over 70 million people are expected to be on this medication. High-value drug, shipped to your home. So the requirement is 2 to 8 refrigerated for now, right? For now. Soon to be tablets that, are room temp that you can take. But the majority of specialty medications, life-sustaining medications, require some sort of room temperature. We have 2 to 8 Celsius or 15 to 30 or controlled room temperature. So the critical part about specialty meds and temperature-sensitive meds is they can't overheat for extended periods of time, and they can't freeze. A medication freezes, sometimes it's rendered innocuous. It just doesn't work anymore. If it overheats for certain periods of time, there's other side effects that impact it. Just going back to the old pharmacy days, and I'm not a pharmacist, I'm an electronic engineer and business major, but, amber vials are there for a reason, right, to keep sunlight out. So these are all requirements of temperature, requirements for these meds in specialty pharmacy. The challenges are, hey, how do I operate my specialty pharmacy, get reimbursements, and contain my packaging costs? Cold chain technology has been around for 50 years. And, when I was working in pharmacies, we'd get insulated mailer, throw a gel pack in it, and off we went, up until the Joint Commission said, hey, what are you guys doing? And since then, it's evolved to URAC, ACHC, National Association of Specialty Pharmacies, and other accreditation agencies that say, hey, well, we need to prove that these medications are lasting for the duration of the shipment.
Okay.
Cold chain assists all pharmacies that want to utilize cold chain products with training, testing, qualified products, configurable products if they need, that last anywhere from 24 hours to 129 hours, depending on the need. Being here at NASP, it's pretty awesome because we get to showcase our products and speak to people who have these problems or are having issues, as you said, to meet the requirements for URAC and ACHC, but more important, to maintain the integrity of the medication while it's being shipped.
All right, if you're listening to the show and you're curious of how to work with Orlando and his team, what's the best way to reach out to your team in directing any of the listeners to doing some business with you?
Sure, at the Orlando Vidal, and the email address is ovidal@coldchaintech.com, and I can be reached at area code 609-744-8806, or just punch us in as Cold Chain Technologies. Will be the first company that pops up.
Awesome. Thank you so much for participating in the NASP podcast.
Thank you. It's a great time being here.
Pharmacy Podcast Network always loves being here. Shout out to the NASP team of how wonderful this conference has been. A record-setting attendance. This has been amazing. Part of our ecosystem that we desperately need is guidance from our lawyers who really can zero down into issues that could become obstacles, or it could actually become issues for specialty pharmacies. So Jeffrey Bard, we really appreciate your guidance. You were part of our NASP 2023 post show, and I wanted to welcome you back.
Well, Todd, it's nice to be back. It's our law firm. We are very proud members of NASP. I'm co-chair of the legal committee, and we work closely with Sheila and Ariana and everybody else. Now, you called me Jeffrey. Only my mother called me Jeffrey, and that's when I was in trouble. So you can call me Jeff.
Yeah, my mother would say my middle name if I was in trouble, so I always associate Stephen with being in trouble. So.
And I did a real good job of ignoring your colleague over there. She was taking my pictures.
Well, people listening to the podcast are probably in their cars right now, or they're walking or something.
Sure.
The thing that I wanted to bring to the attention for our listeners is you talked today earlier here at the Nashville convention about the supply
chain.
Yeah,
that's right.
So let's get into that and give our listeners a kind of a summary of what you were talking about.
Yeah, this is interesting stuff because historically, when I have spoken here at the conference, it's been about kickbacks and inducements and PBMs and things like that. But what I and my partner Brad Howard talked about today is the Drug Supply Chain Security Act, otherwise known as DSCA. And this is really a big deal. This is an outcrop of the New England Compounding Center tragedy in 2012 when 64 people died of tainted compounded drugs. Congress reacted and passed the Drug Quality Security Act, and then underneath that, several other pieces of legislation, one of which is the DSCSA, Drug Supply Chain Security Act. And this has been in effect for about 10 years, and over the last 10 years, manufacturers and retailers and wholesalers have had to comply with certain aspects of it. But now it gets real, because now pharmacies have to. And the law says that really actually a year ago, November of 2023, pharmacies and everybody else up the food chain, suppliers, wholesalers, distributors, manufacturers, have to have in place an electronic interoperable system that traces and tracks the pedigree of a drug. So in other words, pharmacy hands a drug to Mr. Smith, a bottle, right? What box, whatever. That pharmacy has to have information on hand that tracks whose hands touch that drug all the way up to the manufacturer. It's truly a track and trace. The rationale for all this is to prevent illicit, tainted drugs from entering the system.
Makes sense.
Now, I can keep talking, but you might have some questions for me.
What I want to know is, this felt like, to not only me, as someone who is covering almost every aspect, a little bit of every aspect in our profession, it seemed like it stalled, and then they retooled it, and now it's getting its teeth back. So what was the delay where they originally were launching it sometime last year, and they said now it goes into full effect in November?
Yeah, you've done your homework, Todd, and that is they're called the enhanced requirements. And that's where, beginning November 2023, all of the trading partners in the drug supply chain, from the dispensers, that are the pharmacies, all the way up to the manufacturers, we're supposed to have in place a true track and trace electronic system.
Okay.
Well, at the end of the day, people weren't ready. They just the industry was not ready, and so the FDA said, okay, we're going to give you what's called a stabilization period. In other words, we're going to give you guys a 1 year break.
Okay.
Where you don't have to be ready to implement all this now until November of 2024.
Okay.
And that's where we are now. But even now, the drug supply chain is not ready for full implementation. It's similar, Todd, to when, for example, with the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare. The country, legislation, insurance companies, Medicare, everybody else are still trying to figure out how to implement Obamacare. It's a process.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, when it was passed, President Obama said, hey, this is just the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Likewise, in healthcare, we have what's called HIPAA, HIPAA, and that's been around for, good heavens, 15, 20 years. And even now, the industry is trying to figure out how to fully implement HIPAA. Well, the DSCSA is going to be a process, and it's going to take a number of years for the drug supply chain to truly be interoperable and work together so that the pedigree of drugs can be traced all the way to the very beginning. There'll be stops and starts, there'll be successes, there'll be failures, there'll be frustrations. The FDA is going to have to utilize this discretion in terms of enforcement, and so we'll have, and the state boards of pharmacy will have as well. So this is kind of a big deal.
Well, we appreciate the update. It would be wonderful to have you and maybe someone from the NASP that Sheila could find for us to come on and tell us where we are in the beginning of 2025.
Love to.
And you're always a wealth of information, so thank you, Jeff, for participating in the NASP.
But Todd, thank you, and I'll participate anytime you ask me. It's always fun.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Welcome to the Pharmacy Podcast Network's coverage of the NASP 2024. The ecosystem of specialty pharmacy is not for the faint of heart. It's very complex. Many different healthcare providers coming through this. Our quarterback, our physicians who set the therapy in play, is handed off to our specialty pharmacists. And guess who else? Just like we talked with Jennifer Noonan just last interview from Accessi Health, our nurses are such a big part of this. I'd like to introduce Sarah Allen, Director of Nursing, and Jason Oakes, Director of Growth with Naven Health. Welcome to the NASP podcast.
Thanks, you. Todd.
All right, let's kick it off to Sarah. Talk to us about Naven Health and how and why nurses are plugged into specialty pharmacy.
Okay, well, let me start with telling you what Naven Health is. We're the first nationwide nursing network of its kind. We deliver infusion care to thousands of patients in their home monthly. In their home being a key word, because that's where we're going in today's healthcare system. We employ we employ over 1,500 nurses nationwide, and we're growing at a rapid speed, and we provide care in all 50 states. Today we partner with over 100 specialty pharmacies, pharmaceutical manufacturers, and healthcare organizations.
Jason, what can we expect let's pretend I'm a specialty pharmacy. What can I expect working with Naven Health when it's coming to that receiving that care that I know that my patient's going to need in their home when it comes to home infusion?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. I think what we see a lot of times is, the old way of doing business is a pharmacy or a health system would really need to partner with many local small nursing agencies. Naven is really trying to really do business in a different way by being a national partner. And so if you're a specialty pharmacy, you're likely nationwide or at least regional. And when you're working with Naven, you get that one corporation that's got a lot of that continuity that you get with a nationwide partner, right? We have one way of doing intake. You get a customer success manager who is somebody who sits in a clinical and an operational role. We do a customer newsletter. We've got business intelligence and analytics. We do quarterly business reviews with our customers. We hire about 40 nurses a month. We send out those new nurse alerts, right? So that's the kind of thing that you can expect from a corporation, right? A corporate, corporate running large size entity that Naven is. But at the local level, we are regionally distributed, and we've got nurse management in the east, the west, in the central, and then we've got nurse managers by state and staffing coordinators in those states, right? And our nurses are obviously in the state. And so we're still familiar with, the roads, the health systems, the cities, the towns, the patients. And so you still are getting that very local attention when it comes to the patient care and the staffing. And so we really pride ourselves on being able to work with really large partners in a very corporate field that they expect and they're used to in a quality and a data perspective. But really deliver that one-on-one patient care that you're still going to get at a local level.
Yeah, and just to ping pong off of him, our network is so diverse with highly skilled nurses. It's not just a nurse going into the home to provide care to a patient. It is highly skilled nursing. We have to know about these drugs. We have to support them in that manner. A lot of these patients need patient access programs and other things. So we're there to support them in the comfort of their home while delivering exceptional care.
Jason, if someone's listening, I'm a specialty pharmacy, I want to reach out to you. What's the best way to get a hold of the Naven team?
Yeah, I would go to navenhealth.com. We have a contact us link there. And we'll get back to you, same day. It comes right to the growth team. And we're happy to kind of reach out and talk to you. What I do want to mention is we do, somewhere over 14,000 home infusions a month.
Wow.
It's incredible the amount that we're doing. And that's really in our specialty pharmacy business, right? Really delivering medications to folks in their homes. We do a couple other things too, right? With our nursing network, we do a lot of work directly with pharmaceutical manufacturers, really patient support programs, helping folks become independent on some of those self-injectable medications or self-infusable subcutaneous drugs. And so we do quite a bit of our business directly with pharmaceutical manufacturers and really leverage that relationship with the specialty pharmacies, with the manufacturers through that programming. And then we actually support a lot of decentralized clinical trials. And for us, what we're really seeing, what really is at the core of NAVEN is two things, really, right? Giving folks the opportunity to get access to care, whether that's infusions, patient support through a pharma program, or even access to care through a decentralized clinical trial that maybe they could never access before through this nationwide nursing service. It's also an opportunity to offer a different career option to nurses, right? And so we're super proud of our nurses. We love our nurses. That comes across in the quality and the retention of our nurses and the ability to bring on so many nurses and provide that continuity of care. In specialty, what you'll find is a patient keeps that nurse. It's very important for us to provide the same nurse over and over again and build that long-term relationship. And we do that by being a great place to work and offering a different type of work lifestyle to nurses nationwide. And it's super important to us, right? It's all about providing opportunity, whether it's in healthcare or work, to the folks that we're supporting, both employees and patients.
Yeah, and speaking of quality, I mean, our patient satisfaction scores are well above 95%. So we do really focus on that hands-on patient care aspect of the business and our nursing in the home.
Sarah, Jason, thank you for being part of the NASP's post-show here in Nashville, and we hope to see you in Denver next year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank
so
you,
much.
Todd.
Hey, this is a tradition for us at the Pharmacy Podcast Network at the NASP 2024. Dr. Cecilia Byers, it's great to see you.
You as well, Todd. As always, I was watching you from across the little hall here all week, wondering, like, I need to get in there. I need to talk to Todd. Number 3. This is the third NASP we've talked, so it's exciting.
It is. You've been pulled in so many directions, and the reason is SureScripts has positioned itself at a whole nother level now with the expansion of specialty pharmacy and how much tech is coming at it and how much data is coming at it. Talk to us about what's happening with SureScripts in your products and your delivery and tech within specialty pharmacy.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're starting to see expansion of our real-time prescription benefit really going into the pharmacy space. It has been in retail for a while now and just trying to fine-tune what does it need to do, what data needs to be coming into it, working with partners to make sure that we're able to support our pharmacy partners to the best that we can with the data that's coming in. So that's number 1, right? And then we also have eligibility. That's the core of everything a pharmacy needs is what coverage does this patient have, right? So that's also a product that many pharmacies have today. If you realize that you can direct connect to SureScripts for that same type of information and have added features, right? Is it a commercial plan, Medicare, Medicaid? Is this the primary, secondary, tertiary? All of those things can be ordered and sent and inform the pharmacy of the best that we can.
What challenges are you facing that you say to the partners, that you say to the specialty pharmacies, here's what we need so that you can maximize the benefit of what SureScripts is doing?
I think from the specialty pharmacy, it's just really, what is your workflow? What are the things that you need to be successful in your business? Because we recognize that as a multi-sided network, and what that means is that we connect with providers, we connect with pharmacies, we connect with PBMs and payers. What information do you need? And how then can we work together with other areas of our network to be able to ensure that we can try to get that information to you?
You have used the community pharmacy to kind of bang up, develop, make sure that what is being used is now moving to specialty. Is there any core products that now you're realizing, wow, this makes more sense in complex disease management than it does in the community pharmacy space?
So we've had our specialty medications gateway live in specialty pharmacies, and that was really where we, I would say, had the first really big start with specialty pharmacies, and that's really getting data from EHRs into the hands of pharmacists and pharmacies to really better engage with the patient, to be able to answer more questions up front, and to have a holistic picture of that patient. That's really where we started. We're actually seeing maybe a potential shift of that into the retail side. So a lot of the other products, it's not necessarily a lift and move. It's a lift. What more does it need? Fix those things if we can, and then move them over.
So there's a new podcast coming out from SureScripts on the Pharmacy Podcast Network that's going to continue to define quality of networks. I can't remember the acronym. What, QHIN?
QHIN, yes.
QHIN, yes. Talk to us about that, because that's really exciting.
Yeah, so that's like next level interoperability. What's interesting is I know a few podcasts ago, interoperability was our key term, right?
Yep.
And really what that does is that really helps to further connect and be able to not only receive data, but pharmacies to be able to put data out into the healthcare ecosystem. Mm-hmm. So today with the Specialty Medications Gateway, it's just a one-way. Pharmacies request, and they get the information they need to be able to do their work. QHIN, under TEFCA, so the Trusted Exchange Framework and Common Agreement, has this QHIN, so Qualified Health Information Network. And what they do, that QHIN, is it connects to all the different stakeholders. Mm-hmm. So providers, PBMs, EHRs, further down to providers, pharmacy technology vendors, down to the pharmacy, even to the patient, to be able to connect all of those dots. So when one of those stakeholders requests information, it goes back up to the QHIN. The QHIN federates that request down. Those people that know this patient then send the information back up and down through. So it's really kind of back and forth. It's bi-directional, sharing and receiving of information. But there's not just one QHIN, right? That would make things way too easy. So there will be multiple. So one QHIN will talk to another QHIN, will talk to another QHIN, talk to another QHIN, all under the umbrella of TEFCA. So what it will allow is where today we have many health exchanges. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the number, I don't even know the number that there are to be exact, but there are multiple health exchanges that exist that don't necessarily talk to each other today. This will allow all of those networks to connect and talk to each other. So we're ensured that if a patient lives in New York but is visiting family in California, they can probably see the data, the information from those health systems, that information in New York.
That's great. Cecilia, it's always a pleasure to catch up with you at the NASP. Can't wait to see you in Denver, Colorado next year for 2025.
Super excited for Denver, yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Todd, as always.
Curatio Scientia. Cheryl, is that the way to say it?
Well, absolutely it is. This is Latin for the curation of knowledge, and that's what we're all about. We founded the company, John Hamrick and I, with the intention of combining our experience and our background and the folks that we've met over the years, and really to bring an independent voice to put together solutions to connect the innovation that is in the pharmaceutical pipeline with the patients that need it. So we're super excited to talk to you and super excited to be here at NASP.
Cheryl, you're like the godmother of specialty pharmacy consulting, so we're really excited to have you on the NASP podcast here at the annual event. John, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here. Thanks, Todd.
All right, so I want to know what you're doing in this next phase of your career. John, we could actually have a 10-part series on your career in specialty pharmacy, but I want to know specifically what now is taking place that Curatio has now caught fire.
Yeah, I mean, it's really a function of where we are from a technology standpoint in the space. If you think about basically every meeting, including this one, everybody's trying to get their heads wrapped around AI, as well as what technology-enabled patient engagement really means and look like. I think from our perspective, there's sort of the idea of operational, clinical, and financial excellence is what every organization is trying to pursue. And I would say that's kind of what we're doing as a consulting practice. As Cheryl said, we benefit from a few years in the industry, but also a network of phenomenal people and expertise who've sort of seen the film before, but are also the innovators. I think we brought together a team of people who literally were some of the pioneers in the industry. So while they have experience, they also have the ability to be super innovative and figure out how do we best move to the next phase of better patient engagement, better outcomes.
Cheryl, so I understand the hubs, I understand the manufacturers, how they're very choosy about which specialty pharmacies they're working with. I understand our wholesalers and the technology platforms. Assembia is a wonderful organization. They're here at the NASP, obviously. but it's the consultant that can get down into the weeds with the specialty pharmacy to really tune in what their sweet spot is versus another specialty pharmacy. Talk to us about how you're actually helping specialty pharmacies find that sweet spot.
Yeah, 100%. From where we come from, John and I both have backgrounds in specialty pharmacy, and it's core to who we are. It is that patient engagement. And what we effort to do in the specialty pharmacy space is to help them to best understand how they are viewed through the lens of the pharmaceutical manufacturer. When a manufacturer goes into the channel and looks at the specialty space, particularly in limited distribution, very limited, which could be 1 to 3 or 4 specialty pharmacies. What are those unique differentiators? We have so many wonderful specialty pharmacies with such amazing skill sets. What we help the pharmacies to do is to really highlight their differentiators. Now, this could be within their clinical expertise around therapeutic categories. So we have some pharmacies that index very highly in such areas as rare disease. So you've got the Panther, you've got Orsini and rare disease, and others. Also, Anovo, a very unique model, exclusive, right? So they're totally one-stop shop for pharmaceutical manufacturer that includes the 3PL. And then we go further, and we look at, there's oncology, like who is helping to support those patients there? Biologics, you've got Onco360. So it really is looking within those spaces to see, how do you engage? There are other therapeutic areas which, we probably weren't thinking of, but now you think about transplant space. You have, like Lifeline and some of the others where, wow, it's interesting to begin to look at those areas of expertise and help the manufacturers to understand those partners in that way.
John, I think of our independently owned specialty pharmacies. I think of the consultants, obviously, not your consultant type, but the consultant that goes and actually meets with certain patients and consults with the patient. But it's the health system specialty pharmacy that seems on the rise. Is there a sweet spot with your consultancy that you're helping a blend of a health system, hospital system, specialty pharmacy versus the standalone?
Yeah, I think one of the things that Cheryl and I really felt was important as we really decided to found the business was to leverage, our experience in the industry and to figure out how to create better access and better outcomes for patients. And, in our logo, we sort of have, there's a reference, if you will, to the 5 Ps we think of it as the provider, the payer, the patient, the product flow, obviously, and attributes on the payer. So when you talk about the independent specialty pharmacy or the health system specialty pharmacy or the payer PBM-owned specialty pharmacy, there's a lot of players in the space. And really what we see our role in what we think of the specialty health care space in general is to facilitate better collaboration and engagement for all these parties, whether it's the hub services providers or the pharmaceutical manufacturers who are trying to get the best patient journey, okay? Meaning, how do we mitigate those pain points that a patient's likely to face or the provider's going to face when they're trying to get a patient on the therapy all the way through that patient journey. In the case of the health system, they have amazing capabilities to integrate all the insights that they have from the EMR and the connectivity to the provider with their specialty pharmacy service, and through that integration of those activities, ultimately wrap that patient in their entirety. And so that's really what is the biggest differentiator that I think the health system would claim with their specialty pharmacies. But every provider in the space has challenges that they have to deal with, whether it be access to certain drugs or the resources within the organization to be aligned to those things that patients need. So I think that's what we're really helping. In the health system specialty pharmacy space, for example, what's going on right now, and it's been a challenge for a while, is and there's a number of data aggregators that are trying to say, hey, we can provide the data and collect the data that, say, payer or pharmaceutical manufacturers are looking for, the same type of data they would typically see from the core traditional members of their specialty pharmacy networks. But there's various reasons why that's more challenging for them to get. So that's sort of an area that we're really spending a lot of time on right now for what's the best model for, say, for example, an oncology product that is going to be supported by a certain number of traditional specialty pharmacies, that has a lot of health system SP exposure, and that frankly in the community oncology practice setting where there's in-office dispensing or specialty pharmacy capabilities, it's a heterogeneous space in terms of the kinds of data you're going to get from each of those segments. It's a problem right now, and that's the type of thing we're trying to solve for with our clients, whether they be the providers themselves, the specialty pharmacies, or the manufacturers.
Cheryl and John, I've really appreciated this time with you at the NASP. I appreciate that Curatio is rising and helping other specialty pharmacies really strengthen themselves so that we can serve patients better. And in closing, what's the best way to reach out to you, Cheryl, in order to engage and possibly get the assistance that a lot of specialty pharmacies are looking for?
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity, and we appreciate what you're doing in the space to really advocate on behalf of specialty pharmacy and really to advocate on behalf of the patients in access to drug therapy. So you can reach out to us through our website, ReCapAdvisors.com, and or reach out to me personally or John personally, and we look forward to talking to you. And again, it's all within the scope of being the best advocates that we can on behalf of those patients to get the drug products that they need.
Cheryl, John, thank you so much.
Hey, Todd, thank you so much. You are the OG podcast and
Yes.
pharmacy podcast.
The RX Podfather.
It's the bomb. There you go.
The Podfather.
Thanks. The Podfather.